Hello and welcome along to Go Ballistic. Another week here on the Scottish Sun Sport YouTube channel. I'm Jonathon Moar from the Scottish Sun. This is our head of sport, Roger Hannah. Now, there's been a heck of a lot of animosity, anger, fury in the Scottish football world, certainly surrounding Celtic and Rangers in the past week. So that's why we've got Kris Boyd here, as always, to spread a bit of cheer with that big smile of his. There he is. How you doing, Boydie?
All good. Looking forward to this.
It's been a difficult morning, Jonathan. He initially refused to do it. He refused to go off his bench and take part and Go Ballistic. We've talked him into it.
We have indeed. Well, let's see how long it lasts. Now, a man who has very little reason to smile today once again is, of course, the Rangers manager, Russell Martin. Another 1-1 draw, 3 in a row now to start the league. But that result has been overshadowed by the situation surrounding Hamza Igamane. Obviously, many surprised that he didn't come on during the game yesterday. Then after the game, Russell Martin asked, why did you not bring him on? He says, I wanted to, but he refused to come on, said he was injured. Boydie, what on earth do you make of this situation? It's an absolute debacle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one thing after another, Rangers right now. First of all, not getting the result that they needed in Paisley yesterday, and then to top it off with, one of your players refusing to come on. Listen, we're speaking here, and if Hamza Igamane is injured, then it's a total different story. But the fact that he was on the bench, the fact that he had been out warming up, suggests to me that it's more to do with the fact that there was a supposed bid for him during the week that Rangers obviously turned down, and he wants to try and force that move through. I can't think of anything else. He wouldn't want to get injured if he goes on the pitch. But if I'm being honest, and I said it yesterday on Sky as well, I just don't see the whole clamour for Hamza Igamane. It's not as if he's scoring goals on a weekly basis. It's not as if his performances are at a level where he's not even a first name in the team sheet for Rangers. So if there is the opportunity to get money in from him, I said it yesterday, I would drive him to the airport.
It's a nonsense. If you get injured in the warm-up, you tell the manager there and then. You don't wait till the manager turns round to say, Hamza, I want you to go on. So everybody knows what's happened. He's done at Rangers. They will need to sell him before next Monday. And the thing I can't get away with is the guy who came on and saved Russell Martin yesterday, Finlay Curtis, wouldn't have got on if Igamane had been wanting to play. So it's maybe worked out well for Russell Martin.
Yeah, I think obviously to get the point, for Rangers in the end up, because St Mirren were by far the better team in the first half. The second half, I thought Rangers came out and showed a little bit of urgency, still miles away from where it needs to get to, Roger. There's no getting away from it. Rangers are a million miles away from where they need to be. Some folk will no doubt say they're still unbeaten in the league, but 3 draws to against teams like Motherwell, Dundee and St Mirren. No disrespect to them, they're always difficult games, but Rangers, with the money they have spent, should be going there and winning those games of football. And I know there's Europe during the week, but next Sunday at Ibrox is going to be, it's huge. It always is, but if Celtic have to go 9 points clear, Rangers are looking at, if they have to win the game and get it back to 3, then they might say, well, it's not been that bad. I start and try and spin it that way. But Roger, I've got to be honest though. I know the Hamza Igamane stuff is the headlines, but I'm not so sure Russell Martin needed to come out and actually open it for everybody to now have an opinion on it. There's some things that for me should just be kept in-house, and that is swaying more towards he should be kept in. That should have been kept in-house for me.
I disagree. I think he's right. I think Russell Martin's absolutely right. If this guy's saying, I've got to be injured, I don't want to go on, then that he should put it in the public domain. And Igamane will leave the club now, I'm pretty sure of that. It might be one of these jobs where he goes to a French club on loan with an obligation to buy, but I think he's done. He's probably done in the eyes of the fans. They loved him last season when he scored that winner at Celtic Park. All of that goodwill is gone. And, Jonathan started by saying it overshadowed the result. Didn't overshadow the result. It's another draw for Rangers. It's another draw for Russell Martin. He's now, I think he's won 6 of his last 31 games as a manager. Hasn't won a league game since last November. You look at some of those players he's brought in, I'm still not sure they get it. Max Aarons. Joe Rothwell said after the game, St Mirren competed better. How can that be? How can that possibly be? And I think now this Rangers team's populated by players who don't understand what it means. who think 3 draws at the start of the season, well, that's a decent start. You know, we've drawn the first 3 games, we're unbeaten. I don't think they get it yet, Boydie, and I don't think the manager gets it yet.
No, I have to agree with you. I mean, it definitely, in terms of the performance levels, that's the way it seems to be when you look at it. You know, I don't think there's an urgency. I don't think there's an urgency to anything that Rangers do. Whether that is going and closing down, whether that's running off the ball, whether it's moving the ball, there is no urgency to anything that Rangers do, and it would be a worry because you can't really. I mean, we say, when I go back to my time at the football club, it was always start the games fast, get the fans on side. It didn't happen every week, but that was their intentions to do it. I'm sure Russell will say that his intentions is the exact same, to start the game and be on the front foot. But there's a way to do it, and whether that's just getting the ball forward, getting the fans off their seat, get a corner, get a shot at the goal, test the goalkeeper, someday even with a tackle, just to get the place going. There's nothing right now. It's just plodding along. And again, yeah. I think you're also in the territory as well, Roger, where a lot of the players will be looking at it saying, I am better than the one that's playing ahead of me, so why am I not playing? I mean, James Tavernier came on yesterday and done really, you could argue, changed the game. There was a little bit more urgency when he came on. And I'll say it again, it's the same Rangers fans a few weeks ago that wanted James Tavernier out the team that are now wanting him back in the team. Because of the performance levels from Max Aarons. So James Tavernier has to start on Wednesday, and he has to start against Celtic and Sunday as well, because he is still the best right back at the football club.
There's a great hit you got mentioned yesterday. I heard a bit in the radio. Tam Cowan, our old pal, was in Radio Scotland yesterday, and he said he had watched the Rangers game, and he said used to be at Fir Park when Rangers went and played Motherwell. He's a Motherwell season ticket holder. He said you would watch the Rangers team run out and there was always someone that terrified you. You thought, I'm quoting Tam here, he said, used to be McCoist. You thought McCoist will score. Michael Malls, he'll score. Kris Boyd will score. In recent years, he thought, Alfredo Morelos, he'll score. He says, now you see that Rangers team running out, there's not a single player that would worry you. That must worry Rangers fans.
Yeah, to be fair, at least Tam said something. Correct. You know, I've seen a few of his things in recently, but no, I have to agree with him. You know, I don't see this team as a team that's going to score loads of goals. I don't see. You know, I feel as if I've been saying it all weekend in terms of the positions on the pitch. You cannot mess around with your number 9. He's the most important player in the team. That's just a fact. Statistics tell you that. He's the most important player in the team. I don't know who Rangers is right now. I mean, they started with Asgard up front of the weekend. Tell me how a club that has spent what they've spent has got themselves in a position where they can't even play a striker through the middle. I mean, usually my debate with people is, I mean, I can't believe, you know, Rangers are not playing 2 strikers, because that's all it was. It was 2, and by the way, there was probably times where, even with Walter, they would have looked to got a third on the pitch. You know, whether that was a Nacho Novo off the left, a Stephen Naismith off the left, a Kyle Lafferty off the left. That's the way we lined up with 3 centre midfielders, but we always had 2 strikers. You're now looking at it, think to yourself, Rangers Football Club are starting a game in Scotland without a recognised striker. I mean, what is going on?
And it's even more worrying. It's even more worrying after the game, Russell Martin praising fellow Asgard for his performance. If he thinks that's a good performance for a Rangers centre forward or false 9, whatever you want to call him yesterday, then they've got problems.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Theo Asgard, and he's going to take time to get up to speed. You know, he's been out for a period of time there. I thought he showed some decent touches, but Roger, when you're someone who is on that 10 or off the left-hand side, you are got the game in front of you. When you're playing as, you know, as a striker, your back's to, you know, it's the opposite way you're facing the game, and I feel as that. I mean, Rangers. I said it yesterday. I would hate to be that number 9 for Rangers right now. Hate to be it, because there's nothing comes in the box. Nothing. They get to the wide areas, they'll turn back, go back round, try and get out the other side. There's not. I mean, there might be a few wingers. Gassama especially comes off the the left-hand side and cuts inside and tries to get a shot away. Yes, you could look at it saying I might get on the end of scraps. I mean, Magoma, he fired a lovely ball in. during the week. I think there was one yesterday he flashed across. But I mean, apart from, I can't really think of any time that, you know, you're saying to yourself, oh, where's the Rangers strikers? Why are they not in the box? Why is that? Oh, the Rangers attacking players. Why is there nobody in the box? Because it doesn't come in.
You watch your Sunday football yesterday, boy, and after the Rangers game was finished, you look at the Everton game. It's quite simple. They give the ball to Jack Grealish, he fizzes it into the box, and they score a goal. You watch the Crystal Palace game, they give it to the guy out wide, he fizzes it in, and Ismail Assar scores a goal. The game later on in the afternoon, Fulham put on a sub, he fizzes it in the middle, and Emil Smith-Rowe scores a goal. Rangers don't, as you say, aren't putting balls into the box to allow whoever's in that position to score a goal.
I thought we were on Match of the Day there.
Listen, that's the only show you're not on at the minute. Stick in and you'll make it with Mark Chapman.
Rangers obviously been linked to Bojan Miovski just now, guys, but I mean, what you're saying there, it doesn't matter who you're going to put in there. I mean, Miovski won't be looking at that just now thinking, oh, that's a team I can go in and score goals in, will he?
There's players there who can do it, though.
You will always say to yourself, right, if I can get myself in the team, you know, I will hopefully make runs that will force my teammates to pass the ball. And listen, I'm not saying he was brilliant when he came on, but Danilo's movement isn't actually that bad. I mean, he will get down the side, or he'll try to get down the side of, defenders. And there was a couple of times yesterday when that was the case, but the ball just wasn't passed because for whatever reason, Rangers decide to go from left to right or right to left. And, you know, there's not many times where they're trying to probe through the middle, or it's a fullback maybe stepping in and trying just that little pass, to slip inside one of the fullbacks. But again, once they get there, they'll just chop back and go back out as well. So, I mean, I get the whole thing. You know, Russell Martin's got a style of play, and I get that he wants to implement that, and I get that it's going to take time. But as it stands right now, you don't have time. We know what happens in Glasgow. The fans are so fickle. If your team's not winning, Rangers need, and I mean, it's going to be very difficult. Forget Tuesday or Wednesday night. That'll take care of itself. Sunday now is absolutely massive for Russell Martin. I mean, your first Old Firm game's always huge, but going into that now as a manager with the potential of being in front of 48,000 of your own fans, if you lose that, Ibrox will be toxic on
next
Sunday.
3 after Bruges, boy, the next 3 domestically. Celtic at home, Hearts at home, Hibs at home in the League Cup.
Yeah.
That could be season defining domestically for Rangers.
No, I said it last week, Roger. I feel as if Celtic have to go to Ibrox and take the 3 points, I cannot see Rangers getting back 9 points. I can't see it. I mean, it's a tough challenge as it is to be up there competing with Celtic, but to give them a 9-point start inside the first 4 weeks of the season, impossible. I mean, Celtic, whatever happens in Europe will happen, but Celtic will get stronger domestically as well. There's no getting away from it. They might end up being the same as Rangers, probably more than likely go out of the Champions League, and that might happen to Celtic, but I still think they will have enough to get through the tie in Kazakhstan. But you look at it then saying, come Sunday, I would imagine Celtic will have a couple of players in. As soon as they come back, whether it's Champions League or Europa League, they will get a couple of players in between now and. I mean, they might not play, but it's that boost that it gives the squad. That there is players already arriving here, and then you need to up your game to stay in the team. Whereas Rangers have got players coming in the door right now, and the ones who are already there are looking at it saying, oh, I've still got a chance of playing here. I'll just continue doing what I'm doing. And it's no good. So I think, obviously, what do you call them, Dessers and Igamane, the way that Russell Martin was speaking yesterday, it looks as if they will probably move on. So, and people are already saying Rangers need a striker in. So is that us looking at it now, saying Rangers need to go and get 3 strikers? 2 strikers? If the 2 of them go?
If you're Boydie,
it's an imbalanced squad, Roger.
If you're Brendan Rodgers and you're reading in the Scottish Sun on Sunday that Rangers are in for Bojan Miovski, you're not trying to nip in ahead of Rangers.
Well, you could. There's no doubt about that. Celtic could. But again, it might not be a type of player that Brendan Rodgers is looking at. I mean, we don't know. We've seen Celtic before when they've got a certain profile, identified a certain profile of player, and maybe because they've not been able to get over the line, then they've went elsewhere and maybe just grabbed something different. I mean, I can't help but think that was the same with Adam Ida a few transfer windows ago. Then they've obviously committed to that deal now, but I didn't really at the time. I didn't see Adam Ida as a Brendan Rodgers type player, but then all of a sudden, because they maybe never got other people in, they went and got him. So I think the Jamie Vardy one's interesting as well. To be fair to you, I mean, he's been linked with both clubs. I don't understand why neither of them would just go and get someone who you know is going to score goals. You know is at a stage in his career where he needs to be playing, so he's going to give you everything to make sure he's a success. And also, he wouldn't want to, join a long list of players that's come up here towards the end of their career from England and fail. I mean, he'll want to be remembered. He'll look at saying, I can go and get 20, 25 goals. And, similar to a Jermaine Defoe type coming up, scoring goals. So, I mean, for me, I don't understand why either of the two of them haven't went and asked the question there.
If you were selling Igamane for money, you know what I'd do? Go and ask Hibs how much you wanted for Kieran Bowie.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, I like him. We've had plenty of discussions on that. I think he's got a lot to like about his game. Obviously, I would imagine he'll be in the Scotland squad later today. He has to be for me. He's someone who everybody will look at the goal he scored in Europe, but for me, there was goals at Dundee for me, just that little move and shot and a proper striker's goal. Someone that's in there sniffing out opportunities. Listen, whether he goes to, I mean, if Igamane goes and Rangers do ask the question to Hibs, I mean, it'll cost a lot of money because he has started the season really, really well. But he is someone who you would look at and there's a potential maybe to do something there. But again, is there a snobbery from Rangers towards Scottish players? Maybe because, I mean, I look at right now, Wood and Ollie McBurney when he was free, with a Lawrence Shankland when he was free, with a McKenna, even a Porteous.
Josh Mulligan.
Mulligan went to Hibs. I said at the time and was ridiculed for it as well. Why did you not go and ask the question to Greg Taylor? So for me, there is a real lack of, that Scottish backbone for Rangers, and they need I can't help but think that they need to get a few Scottish boys in. I'm not saying that guarantees you success, but what it does do is it allows the culture to breed the way it should throughout the squad. And I look at the guys that we've mentioned there, and a few of them have got away for Rangers.
Just before we move on to the focus on Celtic, Roger, come to you in this first. If this week goes as badly for Rangers, many Rangers fans fear, they get a battering in Bruges out of the Champions League qualifiers. Sunday is a bit of a bruising as well. Is there any hope in hell, at least in the supporters' eyes, of Russell Martin recovering this situation whatsoever?
Well, he'll get the chance to recover it. I don't think he'll be sacked. I don't think there's any chance that he'll be sacked. I think the 49ers will take more of a long-term view to it. There will be a tipping point at some stage, because there always is a tipping point at some stage. But I think Andrew Kavanagh, Patrick Stewart, Greta Steinson, Kevin Thelwell, the guys kind of running the club, I think they'll have more patience with Russell Martin. And you can say that's the wrong thing, you can say that's the right thing, Jonathan. I think they'll have more patience than previous boards have shown. The previous guys who ran Rangers were quite quick to get rid of Van Bronckhorst, to get rid of Beale, to get rid of Clement. Again, you can make arguments whether it was the right or the wrong decisions at the time. I think Russell Martin will benefit from an ownership group that shows more patience.
Okay, we shall see indeed. Now, Celtic, meanwhile, 0-0, their first leg with Kairat Almaty, so they've made that gruelling trip all the way to Kazakhstan. Not just Celtic though, our very own Robert Grieve has also made the same gruelling trip to Kazakhstan, and that's where we can head right now to hear.
Was that a one-way ticket?
I don't believe so. Did you book it, Roger? Did you add in the wee return?
He's definitely coming home.
Well, Sorry, Boydie. But Robert is very much out there just now, and we can hear from him live from the stadium just now. Robert, what have you got?
Well, this is Kairat and Matty's Central Stadium, where Celtic's Champions League fate will be decided tomorrow evening. Brendan Rodgers and the squad, they flew out of Glasgow yesterday morning to make a 9-hour journey to Almaty. I flew via Istanbul from Edinburgh, a long trek it has to be said, but we're here, and for Celtic tomorrow night, it's a huge night again. £40 million is the prize for qualifying for the Champions League, and after last week's first leg 0-0 draw, there's a lot of pressure on Brendan Rodgers and his players. They dealt with Livingston at the weekend, a fairly comfortable 3-0 victory in the Scottish Premiership, but this is a different thing altogether. The stadium itself, I think you can just see behind me, it's not the most intimidating of venues, not the biggest of arenas that any of the Celtic players would have played in. The groundsman just out on the pitch just now, lining the pitch. It's very warm just now, temperatures touching 30 degrees in the afternoon. Just been to the Almaty Kairat press conference there, and they are in relatively confident mood that they can give Celtic a game here in this second leg. The manager, the head coach, spoke about Celtic underestimating Kairat in that first leg in Glasgow, and that's something that Brendan Rodgers and his players cannot afford to do in this return leg tomorrow night. As I say, the temperature, it's very warm and balmy here. The game kicks off at 10:15 local time tomorrow night. Hopefully by then it's a lot cooler and a lot easier for the Celtic players to acclimatise. I believe they're training here later on this evening around kick-off time tomorrow to maybe give them an idea of what the temperature's going to be like by the time they actually run out here tomorrow evening. A lot at stake, as we say. Adam Ida made the journey yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what Brendan Rodgers says later at the press conference in terms of his fitness. That said, he did not play well in that first leg, so a big decision for the Celtic manager to make if and when Adam Ida is past fit to play in the match. I say so much at stake for Celtic. Kairat, they know the task that's awaiting them. They speak about playing on behalf of the entire country here. No Scottish team has ever won in Kazakhstan soil. Here Celtic have lost twice and drawn once to Karagandhi and Astana. So a lot at stake for Brendan Rodgers and his players, but you would like to think they'll play a lot better than they did in Glasgow last week and give themselves a fighting chance. I say Celtic's press conferences later. For all the best news and views, stick with Sunsport.
There we go, looking very sunny over there in Almaty, isn't it?
Yeah, I like his sunglasses, that was a nice wee touch.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, the blue skies might be shining over in Almaty, but it's been a bit of dark skies, clouds over Celtic in the past week, again, at least from the fans' point of view. This game coming on the backdrop of that negativity from the fan base, obviously first seen in the first leg last week. Then again, more banners and chants on Saturday during the 3-0 win over Livingston. Clearly a very frustrated fan base. I'll come to you in this first, Boydie. Celtic have won 13 of the last 14 titles. Rivals have won 1 title in that time. They're winning trebles, they're winning doubles, but they're still very frustrated. Do they have a right and a point in being frustrated here with the way things are going at the club just now?
I can understand the frustrations because, you know, the what's in the bank, they will want to see it spent because they will say we're the ones that's contributing to it. We are going and buying our season tickets, buying our strips, blah, 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 blah. They've seen players coming in and move on. They want the money spent. But it's just not the Celtic way, is it? You know, they ain't going to do it. They will bring in, you know, a few players between now and the transfer deadline on Monday. But you know, it can be a difficult one because you look at Celtic's board will look at it and say, we gave Brendan Rodgers the guts of £30 million on 3 players last year. I mean, I touched on it in the show yesterday. Engels out the team, might come back in and they move Nygren off one of the sides tomorrow night. Trusty not playing. Adam Ida whipped at half time. You know, they'll look at it and say, we speak about this as a big game, and it was a big game at Celtic Park last Wednesday. So why is our big transfers from last season not playing? So the Celtic board will have their reasons for not doing it. You know, Brendan Rodgers has spent over £60 million since he took charge at Celtic Park. So it's not as if he's not been backed. The Celtic board have spent money. But I can look at it from both ways. When Celtic are releasing their bank statement and it's saying we've got X amount in it, and the fans will say, well, spend it. But they have been spoiled for a number of years now, and they just expect the Rangers, the titles just to keep on coming. There'll be a day where they will be challenged, and that might be where Celtic are saying, well, we want to keep it for that day, and then spend it. But I can understand both sides of it. Nobody can tell me. The performance last Wednesday night had nothing to do with the board. They didn't pick the team. They didn't make the substitutions against Kairat Almighty last Wednesday. They've got some stick for not spending money, but you can't have it all. And that's where Celtic fans have been spoiled for a number of years now.
It's going to be a big week as well for Celtic. I think, Boyd, the Champions League's a big thing because of what they did last season. All the way through to that tie against Bayern Munich in February. They need to get past Kairat. It's not a big opponent they're taking on. It's not an opponent with any Euro reputation. Celtic need to get through this tomorrow night. They have to win. Then they go to Sunday. They're top of the league. They've won every domestic game. They haven't conceded a goal in their 3 league games. They made 8 changes at the weekend and still beat Livingston 3-0. Things are quietly going quite well for them on the field. If they can turn over Almaty, be the first Scottish team to win in Kazakhstan, be a terrific result. If they can win at Ibrox on Sunday and go 9 clear of Rangers, the league for me is more or less done already. So it's a huge week for Celtic. They will get players in. I think Billy Wisher will come in from Antwerp. They're bringing in, I think they'll get a left back from Boca. Wouldn't surprise me if they went back for Jacob Brown at Go Ahead Eagles. And then there's the striker. You couldn't rule out a Vardy. You couldn't rule out a Majovski. You couldn't rule out someone coming in next Monday, just as we are doing the next Go Ballistic on transfer deadline day.
Yeah, I agree with you. There is no doubt Celtic will bring in players. But because of... Celtic have got money in the bank right now. If they get through the Champions League, there's obviously more money to come in. But, going forward, that Champions League money isn't going to be guaranteed. For the last 3 years, they've been guaranteed that pot of money because it went straight in. You look at, if they go through, as I said, then they'll get more money. But I don't think, because you look at it and think to yourself, oh, there's 100 million in the bank, let's go and spend. You're only 2 or 3 players away from that going wrong again as well. And you can't go and spend 15, 20 million on a player because all of a sudden then the wages are through the roof. The Celtic wage bill's as high as it's ever been right now as well. So, there is an imbalance within the Celtic squad as well. How many centre midfielders stroke, number 10s do they have? There's loads of them. You look at even Bernardo, people forget, spent a lot of money on him. Luke McCown's come in and had rave reviews since he's come in. McGregor, Hatate. There is loads of players in it, Nygren, Engels. You can go on and on and on. That's not the Celtic's board's fault that's where Brendan Rodgers has bought his players in from, and that's where he's strengthened in that area. Maybe he should have used some of that money and went and got a couple of wingers. Brendan Rodgers will turn around and say, well, I brought in Nicholas Kuhn for a couple of £1 million and we sold him for an absolute fortune. But it's not always going to be the case for that, because even you look at Yang and I think did Brendan say something along the lines of, he's only here because we don't have anybody else. He might be moving on. So you would imagine there'll still be players go out the door at Celtic, but they can't afford to let any more go before they get, especially in that the wide areas, or a striker. Because you could put Maeda through the middle, but there will be a lot of change within the Celtic squad between now and the end of the transfer window, 100%.
What about Brendan Rodgers?
And all will be forgotten. They'll all be mates again. The board, the fans, Brendan Rodgers, they'll all be mates again.
Well, that probably follows quite nicely on to the next point, which is Brendan Rodgers. He's been clearly a bit frustrated about the transfer business himself. He's not been shy in coming forward about that. I guess some fans wondering that he might chuck the towel in a bit earlier than the end of his contract at the end of this season. We've obviously spoken about that before. He was asked about that on Friday at his press conference, if he would walk away now while all this is going on. and he was very firm in saying no chance were the two words he responded with. Over the weekend, obviously, Rodgers, just before you start there, at the back page of the Scottish Sun, Nottingham Forest have placed them at the top of their shortlist if they were to part with Nuno Santo, who still remains the Nottingham Forest manager just now. But are you very much, do you see it's going to be no chance of Rodgers walking away anytime soon as well?
I don't think there's any chance he'll walk away. I think when he came in 2 summers ago, he said he would do 3 years, and I think he will do 3 years, and I think that will do him. I think that'll be 6 years as Celtic manager. I think in an old firm environment, that's enough for anyone. I think he's got other ambitions. He may well end up one day as manager of Nottingham Forest, but I don't think it'll be any time soon. The Nuno Espirito Santo thing's fascinating. It looks as if he's got a power struggle with Edu, the new sporting director. He could leave the club. Yes, you could see that happening. I think Brendan's second favourite at the bookies behind a man called Ange Postecoglou, who's favourite for the job. But I don't think there's a long-term future for Nuno at Forest. Could he limp on to the summer and Brendan goes next summer? I don't know. But Brendan will be Celtic manager until May.
Do you agree with that, Boydie? Rodgers going nowhere for now?
I can't see. I mean, he's not going to tarnish his legacy by walking away again. I mean, he still struggles to convince every Celtic fan that because of what he done when he left to go to Leicester the first time. So I don't see it happening again. I'm not sure if he stays on or not. I mean, I think there definitely has been discussions regarding a new contract. For whatever reason, that has not been agreed or signed. But I wouldn't rule out Brendan Rodgers staying at Celtic. He's settled up here. Family loves it. He's got the club more or less where he needs it for him right now. That he's got the fans on side questioning the board and wanting backed, and that can only be good for him. But it's whether the Celtic board continue, because I've said this before. I've said Celtic won't get a better manager than Brendan Rodgers. I mean, even when Ange Postecoglou left, all the Celtic fans loved him, and when it was reported that Brendan was going to come back, I think Dermot Desmond was always obviously the one that was driving that. Decided to go and get it, but for me, Celtic, it was an upgrade on Ange Postecoglou, and he done ever so well. But for me, Brendan is an elite manager. He'll decide what he wants to do himself, and if that's staying at Celtic, that's what he'll do.
Just on this Kairat game in particular then, as we heard from Robert a little bit earlier, he was speaking to their manager this morning, and he's very much of the opinion that Celtic very much underestimated them in that game last week. Do you agree with that, Boyd? Do you think Celtic did underestimate what was in front of them? And this time around, I'm sure there's going to be no chance of that, even if that was the case.
I don't think they did. For me, looking at it, I thought Kairat were well organised. They worked ever so hard because they're a threat. Their star man, I can't remember his name, is going to Chelsea. He will obviously be missing from the tie. But I don't think Celtic went into that and underestimated them. The bookies would have suggested that they had absolutely no chance. But at this level, they might not be, the glamour Champions League team, but everybody, I mean, we've seen it before and even at international level, where teams used to get absolutely smashed. Very rarely does it happen now. You get the odd one here and there, but because there's so much at stake, there's, there is nerves in the from the players, there is nerves in the stand as well, and they can feel it. I don't think Celtic underestimated them.
I underestimated them. They were far better than I thought they would be. They're far more composed in the ball. Even when those 10 minutes were added at the end of the second half at Parkhead, Boyd, they were composed. They passed it about, didn't panic, didn't shell it. They looked good. They will miss Dastan Satpayev, that 17-year-old. He scored. There you go. He scored in every round so far. They will miss him. But I think they did have other players. Some of those Brazilian lads, it was Evan Nielsen who put it onto the roof of the net when Carter Vickers gave the ball away. The boy Jorginho, the boy Ricardinho came on. They've got nice players. So it will be a tough examination for Celtic. I think their big guns will come back in. I still think Celtic will get through.
Is there a show in Kazakhstan as well, mate? You've got everything going here. Match of the day, Scotland. You're a man of many talents.
Yeah, the show's called Kazakh the Board.
Not bad.
Very good, very good.
Every Saturday.
Just very quickly, Roger, touching on the other two teams in Europe, Aberdeen and Hibs. Hibs looking to overturn that 2-1 first leg deficit. Aberdeen clawing things back to 2-2. Both facing a very tricky trip abroad. Fancying any of their chances there?
No, probably not. Aberdeen have got the safety net coming into the Conference League if they don't get through. Really good game last week. I watched it on TV. I enjoyed it. But against 10 men for 60 minutes, they huffed and puffed. I really liked the FCSB number 9, Berleja. Thought he led the line really well. He will be a major threat. I just think they'll have too much for Aberdeen. But they would still get 6 games in the Conference League. Hibs have probably been better away from home in Europe than they've been at Easter Road. But I just think this is maybe just a step too far. They've had a great European adventure, Midtjylland, Partizan Belgrade, Legia Warsaw. They haven't been embarrassed anywhere. They've held their heads up. And if they go out, David Gray can be proud of what they've done.
I mean, I think it's going to be difficult for Aberdeen. There's no getting away from that. To be 2-0 down and then get it back to 2-2, as Roger says there as well. Having played large parts of that game against 10 men. The Hibs one's interesting. I don't think they're out it. I mean, Hibs have shown on the road that that their team is set up to counter attack. They've got plenty of pace in that. It was a poor result for them against Legia Warsaw last week, but I wouldn't rule Hibs out being able to get something here. That they're well organised, and if they can perform at the level that they have away from home in Europe, yes, Legia Warsaw, there's no doubt, is a step up from the teams they've faced. But for me, I wouldn't. Say Hibs are totally out this tie yet. But the one thing I will say is it was a really, really poor week for Scottish clubs in Europe. Last week in terms of you're 2 in the Champions League. There's no disgrace in losing to Club Brugge, but I think the way that Rangers did end up losing wasn't great. Celtic obviously drawn with Kazakhstan. We spoke about Almighty from Kazakhstan. They were well organised and hard to break down, but Celtic should be winning those games. Aberdeen is with the 2-0 down and the positivity at the end of were able to get it back, but playing with 10 men and then obviously the Hibs result in the end up. It was a poor week for Scottish clubs.
Yeah, that coefficient certainly going to need a better week, isn't it? That's for sure. It's kind of teetering there now,
taking a bit of a battering, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Just a couple more points before we finish up. The other Premiership game on Saturday, Motherwell 3-0 up at Hearts. Ends up finishing 3-3. Claudio Braga becoming a bit of a favourite with the Hearts fans coming on there, scoring twice to get them level. Not 3 points for Derek McInnes, but you have to think, he'll be delighted with that response because they obviously really strong start to the season, the cup defeat and penalties aside. This was the first real time a team had got in their faces, really challenged them, looked like they were going to run away with a win, and then Hearts end up getting a point out of it.
Yeah, all we hear is Claudio Braga. There won't be a better game in the Premiership this season. Motherwell, for 60 minutes, wiped the floor with Hearts. They were superb. And then once Harry Milne banged that one in, good goal.
Cracking finish.
They just seemed to crumble a wee bit. I thought the goalkeeper was poor, Callum Ward, at the third goal. Hearts might have won it in the end. So, a 3-3 draw in the face of it at home to Motherwell might not be what Hearts and Tony Bloom were looking for. But given the circumstances, I think it's a good point. What I will say is, I think Hearts need to go and win at Livingston at the weekend. Otherwise, you're into the 3 without a win and begins to look like a wee wobble.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be obviously take some confidence from coming back from 3-0 down, but I mean, Motherwell look at saying scoring 3 goals away from home and not winning the game is a blow as well. I mean, I've got to hold my hands up. I went and watched Motherwell, earlier on in that League Cup campaign, and I was like, this is going to be a long, hard season. Yeah. But hands up, I've called it wrong. You look at what the manager's been able to do, get players that playing in a certain style of play that I don't think they had it in them. And that open, expansive, been able to cut through teams at will, and that's exactly what they've done to Hearts at the weekend. I mean, they were excellent. There's been some decent signings there. You'd imagine there'll maybe be another couple coming in now that they'll get the money in for Lennon Miller, and you'd expect Motherwell to kick on. I've totally called it wrong. Probably off the back of the game against Peterhead that I watched, and I was probably the exact same as a lot of Motherwell fans at that time as well, worried about what was going to happen and transpire this season. But I tell you what, fair play to them. They've came out of the blocks. I thought they were really good against Rangers that opening day. You then go to, what do you call it, Paisley, with the wind wasted. I went and watched them that day, and cut St Mirren open a few times as well. You're questioning where's the goal's going to come from. To then go to Tynecastle and score 3 as well. Fair play to them. They've started over, and also get that result in Perth against St Johnstone, who have started the championship really well. So it was a big result. They'll be looking forward to. Is it Aberdeen they go to? The League Cup as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a good start for them. But hands up as it stands right now. I've totally called that one wrong. It's the first time for everything.
There we go. You mentioned the championship there briefly, Boyd, when you were talking. St Johnstone obviously having a really good start. Ross County not so, and that's led to a rather high-profile managerial departure this early in the season. Another one, Don Cowie losing his job over the weekend, just 3 games into the championship season. County obviously made quite a big point of backing him publicly after the relegation at the end of last season. Done a lot of business in the transfer market. Just not been a great start. Were you surprised to see this decision taken, Boydie?
No. I think when you get relegated, your job's always going to come under threat. For whatever reason, Ross County decided to remove the backroom staff and leave Don Cowie there. They've then added a few to that in terms of staff members. John Robertson's been in there, so I'm not surprised. If you don't start the season well, they got 1 point. They go to Dunfermline, I think, at the weekend as well. It's not been good enough. It's not been a good enough start for Ross County. And as I said, I'm not surprised. I was more surprised that he stayed in charge, Don Cowie, after the season they had. They have spent a lot of money again, bringing in some players that, personally, I thought for that level would have been good enough, but they're struggling right now. Whether it's a change of management will get their season back on track, but when you know something's not working, then you do need to change it, and that's exactly what Ross County have done.
Well, there we go. I think that will do us this week in Go Ballistic. Thank you very much, gentlemen, as always. Boyd, I think you're going to cut the grass, I think, was what was said.
Cut the grass. I was going to play golf, but some people have to work.
Oh dear. Not Robert Grieve again, was it?
Easy.
No, he's kidding himself on over there, that's for sure.
Wasn't it Hamza Igamane that pulled out?
No. He refused to go last night.
Dear.
Don't forget, we want your views on Go Ballistic this season as well. You can drop an email to us at goballistic@thesun.co.uk. Get your points to Roger and Boydie for next week. Keep across Scottish Sun YouTube channel. The set piece will be here building up to all the European action, and of course the big Old Firm game at the weekend. And don't forget to check back in for the transfer specials. Rangers and Celtic shows continuing right up until the deadline. Catch you next time.